Making this video could get me 14 years in prison. In fact, if you share this video, potentially you could get 14 years in prison as well. Because this video expresses support for Palestine action. You can blow the limbs off a child. Fine, no trouble at all. You can directly and deliberately target journalists, academics, you can blow up entire families, you can target people who are queuing for food aid, you can do what the hell you like, and you will not be condemned by this government. But spray a bit of paint on some warplanes, on some weapons of war, and that paint, that becomes a true weapon of war. That becomes a true aggression. That becomes, in Yvette Cooper's words, the disgraceful attack. Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary of the United Kingdom, she has never used those words, a disgraceful attack, about any of the things that the Israeli government has done to the Palestinians. Every day it murders, it maims, in total defiance of international law, and she has never once used the term disgraceful attack about any of that or any term like it. In fact, far from it, she's happy to be photographed with the Israeli ambassador. Great mates with the representative of a government who is right at this moment committing genocide. It could not be more blatant, it could not be more obvious. Netanyahu will not be satisfied until every Palestinian in Gaza is either dead, disabled or displaced. And yet he is still being supported by the UK government. It is still sending weapons and weapons parts to the Israeli government, providing espionage support, providing diplomatic support to the Israeli government while it perpetrates a genocide. And then these people come and have the sheer brazen cheek to lecture us about the law, to lecture us about what we morally can and morally can't do. And one thing you morally cannot do, absolutely cannot do, is spray some paint on a plane. This is Orwellian. The people trying to stop a genocide are being prescribed as terrorists by those who are aiding and abetting that genocide. Because the government has no justification whatsoever in banning a peaceful, non-violent, direct action protest group and calling it a terrorist group, it's had to make up justifications instead. It's had to lie about them. And we have an unnamed Home Office official saying, well, maybe they're taking funding from Iran. Yes, I think they're taking funding from Iran. There's no evidence whatsoever for this proposition. It's a straightforward smear to try to justify an unjustifiable policy. But if we're talking about taking money from people associated with terrorist regimes, well, Yvette Cooper has taken money from lobbyists favourable to the Israeli government. Yvette Cooper is also a supporter of Labour Friends of Israel, whose chair was caught on camera discussing a £1 million payment with an Israeli embassy official.
What happened with the names that we put into the embassy,
And just now got the money. It's more than £1 million. It's a lot of money. And then, and now I got the money. So from Israel. So it's not physical. Yeah, it's improvement. And then,
I didn't think you had it in your bag.
And what we've now learnt is that a lobby group called We Believe in Israel, a group which is very close to the Israeli government, had been pushing the UK government to prescribe Palestine action as a terrorist group. People like Starmer and Cooper, they have no moral compass at all. They'll just go wherever the current of power directs them. And when powerful interests say, this is what we want, in their current incarnation, as government ministers, they will give those powerful interests what they want. They are absolutely terrified of power. They are terrified of the power of the billionaire press. They are terrified of the power of the US government. They appear also to be terrified of the power of the Israeli government. And they do not want to be seen to be standing up to any of those sources of power. Instead, they will grovel to them and give them whatever they ask, even turning an entirely peaceful protest organisation into a terrorist group at the behest of lobbyists friendly to the Israeli government. Under the Genocide Convention, states have a duty to prevent and punish genocide. Now, not only is the UK government failing to fulfil that duty, it's actually aiding and abetting genocide, but what Palestine Action are doing is upholding the spirit of the Genocide Convention. They're trying to prevent genocide with tremendous courage. Not only do they face prison sentences, they also face excoriation right across the media. They get told they're the enemy, they're anti-Semitic because they oppose the cold-blooded murder of tens of thousands of civilians. That makes you apparently anti-Semitic. If you care, you're in the firing line. But they are trying to uphold, as best they can, the spirit of the Genocide Convention, which the UK government isn't trying to uphold at all. And Palestine Action are far more in tune with what people want in this country than the UK government is. There's a clear majority of people who want an arms embargo against the Israeli government, which would be what international law tells us there should be. We should not be supplying arms to a government committing genocide. It's about as straightforward in international law as you can get. Palestine Action are not only trying to get the law upheld, they're actually in line with public opinion on this matter. The government is way out of line, both with the law and with public opinion. But it doesn't give a stuff about international law, and it doesn't seem to give a stuff about democracy either. The British government clearly believes that the protection of warplanes and drones and bombs is far more important than the protection of children and the other people of Gaza. It literally places weaponry above human life in its scale of moral values. Now, there are many precedents in which juries have found people not guilty for taking very similar action to the action being taken by Palestine Action. So, for instance, in 1996, 4 women who sabotaged warplanes being produced in the UK, destined for the Indonesian government, which was committing atrocities in its occupied territory of East Timor. They sabotaged those planes. They were found not guilty because their actions were considered by the jury to be justifiable. In 2003, activists disrupted fuel tankers which were going to be refueling US planes destined for Iraq. Not guilty. One of them was represented by Keir Starmer in court. He was their defending barrister, and now this same man presides over a government which wants to turn peaceful protesters spraying paint onto warplanes as a terrorist organisation. Hypocrisy beyond belief. In 2017, activists attempted to disarm Typhoon jets which were destined for Saudi Arabia, where they might have been used to commit war crimes in Yemen. Again, they were found not guilty. In 2024, Palestine Action themselves was found not guilty because their actions were considered by the jury to be justifiable. On one occasion, Elbit Systems, the weapons company being targeted by Palestine Action, lobbied the British government for a retrial of the activists from Palestine Action after their charges were dismissed. And this is part of a long, long tradition of juries acquitting people who have technically broken the law, but where there is a clear justification in the minds of the jurors for that law breaking because they were preventing a greater crime from being committed. This is part of a long and honourable tradition in British justice. The people in Palestine Action who have been targeting weapons companies who are sending weapons to Israel, they're not doing this for their own sake. They're not doing this for selfish reasons. Quite the opposite. They suffer immensely for them. They get taken before the court for trying to prevent other people from being killed. This is true human altruism. This is admirable. These are admirable people who should receive our deep respect for what they're doing. Instead, we're being told that they're terrorists, and we're being told that if we support them, we are terrorists too. This is perhaps the most draconian thing that any Home Secretary has done in the United Kingdom in the past 30 years. And it's a Labour Home Secretary who's doing it. A few years ago, Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, turned up in Parliament wearing a rosette in the suffragette colours. In fact, her clothes were also in the suffragette colours, and she expressed support for the suffragettes.
Who fought for so many women to have their voices heard.
A safe thing to do. 100 years on, no one was going to condemn her for that. But there is not the slightest doubt in my mind that if the suffragettes were active today, Yvette Cooper would ban them as a terrorist organisation. Not only did they engage in the sort of peaceful direct action which protest movements today do, but they actually planted bombs. They took a whip to Winston Churchill. They did all sorts of things which would be considered violent action. These people were considered the enemies of right-thinking society, the enemies of the establishment. But 100 years later, when it's safe, we can embrace those people and say, yes, of course, we stand in solidarity with the great tradition of the suffragettes and the civil rights activists and the Chartists and all these other people whom Yvette Cooper in another age would have sent dragoons in to cut them down with sabres. Today's villains, calling for things that the establishment does not want to give them, are tomorrow's heroes. And today's heroes were villains in their time. This Home Secretary, who claims to be a member of the Labour Party, which grew out of the Labour movement, which was a protest movement against the depredations of capital, which secured so many of our fundamental freedoms for us, is spitting in the eye of that tradition. Now, I'm slightly tired of the argument which says if we impose draconian laws now and then we get a bad government, it could misuse those draconian laws. Hang on a moment. Draconian laws are a misuse of the law. This is misuse. Straight away, this government is misusing the law. It is classifying entirely non-violent people as terrorists. That straight away is an authoritarian misuse of the law. However, we could potentially get an even more authoritarian government, and what the current Labour government is doing is equipping them with a whole suite of repressive laws and repressive interpretations of the law, so that if they do come into power, they can say, right, anyone we don't like, for my friends everything, for my enemies the law. What this does is to degrade the meaning of terrorism. It devalues the currency of terrorism. Terrorism is terrorism. It's an attempt to terrorize people with extreme acts of violence. That's what terrorism is. That, for instance, is what the Israeli government is doing in Gaza at the moment. That's terrorism. That is absolutely not what Palestine Action is doing. But while the government will not condemn terrorism as terrorism when one of its friendly states does it, it will condemn peaceful direct action as terrorism when it offends the interests of one of those friendly states. This slippage is incredibly dangerous, because what it means is that the moment you start breaking down the barriers to what is and is not terrorism, and you start labelling anyone you don't like as a terrorist, well, suddenly anyone who dissents could find themselves up against terrorist charges. We could easily all be prescribed. Anyone who engages in a protest movement could find themselves on the wrong side of this. And this is a classic dictator's ploy. Authoritarians around the world and throughout history have described their opponents as terrorists. And that is the authoritarian's tool, the dictator's tool, which has no place in a so-called democracy. There are many, many tools in the democratic toolbox. Yes, you need the mass marches. You need millions of people on the street. But we know from the run-up to the Iraq War that even when you get millions of people on the streets, that's not enough. You need other ways of galvanizing public attention, of holding misdeeds up to the light. So like the suffragettes before them, like the anti-apartheid campaigners, like the civil rights activists, all the people who we cherish today but were hated at the time, Palestine Action are doing an essential service to democracy. If marching can be shut down by the police on a whim, as the new laws allow them to do, and if direct action is now prescribed as terrorism, what else is left? What democratic action are we allowed to take other than putting one cross on a piece of paper every 5 years? A parody of democracy. Democracy, if it's going to work, has to be a living, breathing proposition where we can engage with the political system on any day we choose. And one of the most effective means of doing that is protest. But by one means or another, this government, building on the work of its predecessors, is shutting down our fundamental rights. This, I believe, needs to be our I'm Spartacus, where one after another we stand up and say, I support Palestine Action. I support Palestine Action. If tens of thousands of us do that, well, what are they going to do? Are they going to arrest and jail us all as sympathizers with terrorism just by saying that we support a non-violent protest movement? Are they going to put us all in handcuffs and walk us all away? Well, let's find out. I support Palestine Action, and I want you to say the same. Unlike so much of the rest of the media, Double Down News will not be intimidated. We will stand up for what we know is right, even if there's a cost attached to that. So please support Double Down News through Patreon by becoming a patron.
Brexit, the sunlit uplands, that moment of national renewal when we fix broken Britain. Brexit has many fathers: Boris Johnson, Michael Gove, Nigel Farage. But the godfather of Brexit is Lord Daniel Hannan. Back in 2016, just before the referendum, Lord Hannan wrote an article entitled "What Britain Looks Like After Brexit." In it, this intellectual colossus painted a glorious picture of life in Britain 9 years in the future. In June 2025, if Leave won the referendum, he imagined a nation in which every June fireworks would stream through the summer sky as Britain celebrated its own Independence Day. And he turned that article into a film for the BBC. Well, Leave did win. Those 9 years have passed, and now it's June 2025. So finally it's time to celebrate Lord Daniel Hannan and his spectacular vision of life in Brexit Britain. Roll the tape.
The only question people ask these days is why it took us so long. Outside the EU, Britain is the region's foremost knowledge-based economy. We lead the world in biotech, services, law, education, the audiovisual sector.
Lead the world? Well, not quite. Take biotech. The UK's global share of pharmaceutical exports actually dropped by nearly a third between 2018 and 2023, from 5.4% to 3.8%. Okay, so that cost the UK economy an estimated £10.8 billion a year. But come on, 10 billion quid to say up yours to the French, clearly worth every penny. And then there's education. The latest World University rankings show more than half of UK universities slipping down the global league table. So what? Degrees are woke, am I right?
Family incomes have received a triple boost. Food prices are lower outside the Common Agricultural Policy. Fuel bills are lower because energy prices have dropped to world levels. And taxes are lower because of the independence dividend. And that means more household income for everybody and a general stimulus to the entire economy.
Obviously food prices have risen 40% since Lord Hannan made his prediction, and the average gas and electricity bill has risen 52%, and the UK tax take is now at the highest level in 70 years. But at least our passports are blue.
Outside the EU's clinical trials directive, we're again at the forefront of medical research.
Okay, so UK clinical trials have actually decreased by 8% per year since 2017. The Union Jack flies over the Palace of Westminster, although it always did anyway.
Outside the downright malicious rules on pensions, equity and insurance, our financial services are booming, not only in London, but in Edinburgh, Leeds and Birmingham.
Now, it's true that the Lord Mayor of the City of London has said Brexit cost London's financial centre about 40,000 jobs, and even called Brexit a disaster. But he's probably part of the Guardian-reading, tofu-eating wokerati.
Our fishing grounds have once again become a great renewable resource.
Okay, let's actually hear from a fisherman. Here's what one of them told GB News earlier this year.
I was a Brexiteer. It's been a bit of a disaster.
In what way?
In the main, legislation, red tape, documentation is just 100-fold what it used to be.
Bloody Ramona.
And our older industries have revived too. Our farmers, always more innovative than their continental rivals, are exporting all over the world.
Now, obviously, British food exports to the EU have fallen by £3 billion a year since Brexit. And then there was that Farmers Weekly survey in 2023 that showed that 69% of British farmers viewed Brexit negatively, and 70% felt that the UK should at least rejoin the European single market. Well, what do farmers know about farming, eh? So come on, everybody, let's celebrate the greatness in Brexit Britain in June 2025. Forget not these fathers of Brexit and their words. Let us pop a cork and may fireworks stream through the summer sky to honour the heroically shit predictive powers of Lord Daniel Hannan.
Today I'm surrounded by 20 Kermit the Frogs.
Do you believe you are Jordan Peterson?
What do you mean by believe?
I don't know if you're copying my voice or what.
That's the circular definition.
That's the circular definition.
You stake your life
on it.
And you die
for it. I feel like I'm talking to myself here.
How much do you know about me?
Hypothetically, if you were born Jordan Peterson, but you talked like Kermit the Frog, that would just make you a human with a frog voice.
You're generating an impossible, restricted, hypothetical, with no precursors to back me into...
I can't tell them apart. You like eating red meat, right?
Sure.
And what do Jordan Petersons love eating more than anything else?
Why are you asking me?
Because you are Jordan Peterson.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Is this Jordan Peterson versus Kermit the Frogs?
Don't be a smartass.
Either you're Jordan Peterson or you're not. Which is it?
You're really quite something.
That's because you're Jordan Peterson, you're not a frog.
Yeah, I'm done with him.
I respect Dr. Peterson, but I think he's losing it.
Croak,
All
ribbit.
the greatest villains together in one place. Well, no matter, justice always prevails.
But you see, Batbrain, this time it is we who seek justice.
What do you mean by that?
We're all in agreement. The real greatest villain playing Gotham is you.
Oh, this is gonna be rich. I really shouldn't be entertaining this, but I'm just very perplexed by what you mean, so go on.
Riddle me this, Batman. What's the one thing that we all have in common?
That's not a riddle.
Why,
you
no,
should
I
know
know
that. It's not a riddle.
No, just
What, are
answer
you all
it.
wearing colorful
No,
clothes?
we're all mentally ill, all right? That's where I was leading you. That's right, Batman. All of the villains that you've been beating on this whole time have all been mentally ill. Except the Penguin. He's just an asshole.
Yeah.
I'm more shocked that the Penguin's not. What are you doing here?
A horrible world, maybe one for thee. Alas, the mentally unwell would effectuate me.
Huh?
Look at me, I'm a penguin guy. My nose is weird. What about Catwoman?
I have anxiety.
Yeah, breaking news. Supervillains are mentally
But
unwell.
it's not just about men alone. It's the system he fights for.
The system I fight for.
Just take a look at all the time, money, and resources you put into making new tools of war to use against the victimized working class turned criminal rather than cementing a meaningful mass movement to get at the permanent abolition of the conditions which spawn mass poverty and desperation to induce crime that is an inherent part of it.
What?
Your war on crime keeps the poor poorer and the rich richer. Instead of trying to solve the real problems the city has, you use your fists and beat down on the mentally unwell and the less fortunate. Tell me, Batman, do you really sound like a hero now?
Last weekend you bombed an orphanage.
I don't see the
Riddler
relevance
poisoned
in
the water supply, and then
I
Catwoman
don't-
just
I-
she
I-
just
yeah,
steals
I don't know what
shit.
you're
And I
saying.
don't even want to hear you talk about how I spend my money when you hang out with Bizarro Monopoly guy over there.
Maybe I'm not explaining this right. It looked a lot smarter when I read it
No,
online.
I've heard it all before. Everyone feels so smart when they say Batman's the real villain. He's fighting crime, but he should be opening soup kitchens and helping social workers. And all his villains are mentally unwell. But look, when I see a guy dressed as a clown trying to poison the city's fucking water supply, the first thing that comes to mind is, well, what was this guy's financial situation leading to this? Or is this guy in Prozac? I'm just gonna knock his fucking shit in.
But does that really solve anything, Batman?
Yes, almost immediately.
But what say you to your benefiting from the capitalist regime, eh? Have you no shame in aiding their oppression against the proletariat?
Wait, I'm Batman. I dress up like a bat. You're the Riddler. You tell riddles, and that's Catwoman. She meows sometimes. This is Saturday morning bullshit. Don't try to overcomplicate it into something it's not.
But late-stage capitalism and the proletariat and the working class. I had to go through a thesaurus for this whole bit. Do you know how long it takes to read a thesaurus?
All right, look, well, a lot of you would definitely belong in jail or hell. I will admit that having this conversation has opened my eyes just a little bit.
Really?
I'm serious. I think that maybe there were things I should have been doing differently from the start. Maybe I should be helping the community to prevent crime before I have to fight it. I've been perpetually frustrated with how the city refuses to change, but I believe that the change should have started with me.
Wow, Bruce, this is actually really big for you.
Starting tomorrow begins a new day for a better Gotham, for a better... Robert, are we glowing?
Yeah, we're glowing.
Oh my God, Robert, do you know what this means?
That the animator didn't want you to blend into the background?
No, we've been ordained by God.
What?
We're God's chosen, Robin. Do you understand what that means? It means everything that we've done up until now has been completely morally justified.
Really? But what about all that you just said about changing the way
No,
we...
Robin, fuck what I just said. I was completely wrong. We gotta keep doing what we're doing now. Actually, we gotta do more of it. We gotta beat up more mentally ill people. We gotta increase the rate of poverty.
Riddle me this, Batman. Who's starting to sound a little mentally ill himself, huh?
That's still not a
Break
riddle.
his knees, Robin!
What's he building in there? What the hell is he building in there? He has subscriptions to those magazines. He never waves when he goes by. He's hiding something from the rest of us. He's all to himself. I think I know why. He took down the tire swing from the pepper tree. He has no children of his own, you see. He has no dog. He has no friends. And his lawn is dying. What about all those packages he sends? What's he building in there? What the hell is he building in there? I heard he has an ex-wife in some place called Mayor's Income, Tennessee. And he used to have a consulting business in Indonesia. But what's he building in there? He has no friends, but he gets a lot of mail. I bet he spent a little time in jail. I heard he was up on the roof last night signaling with a flashlight. And what's that tune he's always whistling? What's he building in there? What's he building in there? We have a right to know.
of our Lord, 992. The justified ancients of Mulu set sail in their longboats on a voyage to rediscover the lost continent. After many months on perilous, stormy seas, their search was fruitless. Just when all seemed lost, they discovered America. The music you are about to experience is a celebration of the 1000th anniversary of their founding of this great nation.
We can't goes from side to side, not back to front. And did you know in Jamaica, ladies have a cloaca? That means a bum and fanny all in one. Did you know in Paraguay, they stretch girls' furry pie and insert a big ceramic cup? And did you know in Senegal, birds have got no quim at all? They cut their clip box off and sew it up. The thing I really fear is what if they come over here, all them foreign fannies in our own backyard. I'm gonna go in my garage, take a picture of Nigel Farage and make myself a big purple placard. Cause that's why I'm voting UKIP, don't think me unhinged. That's why I'm voting UKIP, to save the British minge. That's why I'm voting UKIP, come on join the hunt. You gotta love Nigel Farage cause he's a proper British cunt. so much. Nah, not so much.
Marty the Rabbit Boy in his musical blender?
I am the regurgitator!
Nah, not so much.
You ever served in an infantry unit, son?
No, sir.
Ever served in a forward area?
No, sir.
Ever put your life in another man's hands? We follow orders or people die. It's that simple. Are we clear? Are we clear? Are we clear? Are we clear? Are we clear?
Crystal.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth. You weep for Santiago and you curse the Marines. You have that luxury. You have the luxury of not knowing what I know. That Santiago's death, while tragic, probably saved lives. And we follow orders, son. We follow orders or people die. It's that simple. Are we clear? Are we clear? Are we clear? Are we clear? Are we clear?
Crystal.
You don't want the truth because deep down in places you don't talk about it, parties. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. We follow orders, son. We follow orders or people die. It's that simple. Are we clear? Are we clear? Are we clear? Are we clear? Are we clear?
Crystal.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth. Are we clear? Are we clear? Are we clear? Are we clear?
Crystal.